This is The Process Shot. I'm Michael. I'm stuck in a haunted movie theater, and if that's meant to be a cheap metaphor for personal happiness and fulfillment, I'm absolutely against it. Moonshot is a new romantic comedy with a science fiction twist directed by Christopher Winterbauer, following the futuristic antics of two 20-somethings as they travel from Earth to Mars. Sophie, a highly intelligent student, is on her way to see her long-distance boyfriend and her family, while Walt, a dreamer seemingly doomed to work as a barista, stows away to see his own love interest. As the two spend more time together, they end up finding that what they expect when they get to Mars may not be what they get or even want, and that perhaps the real adventure is back on Earth with each other, or, well, you know the drill by now. The fact that they're the ones on the poster probably says more than I have just now. At its core, the movie is pure rom-com formula. Just replace going to space with going under the ocean or going to Europe, and the rest is just a matter of little details. It does go a bit to try and sell the idea that this story can only happen in space, but it amounts to minor discussions of Earth as a spaceship or social commentary about the environment. They try to add depth to the ongoing story, but it's more for the sake of world building than anything for the characters. Speaking of which, Walt and Sophie also fall into the standard archetypes for rom-coms, hitting the usual story beats, going through the motions, etc., etc., nothing special overall. Their romantic storyline is pretty basic, actually doing more to give reasons why they shouldn't be with their respective partners, rather than bringing the two of them together. It makes their interactions feel more distant overall, more like friends up until the end. They don't have much chemistry except when they're in conflict, come to think of it, but at the very least they do work well enough together, if not as lovers, then at least as people. Again, it's all pulled from the usual romantic comedy standards and practices, giving the movie enough of an original sci-fi flair that hides its roots, but still plays things too safely, with most of the risks being taken being superficial at best. It all ends as you might expect, because the movie doesn't want you to expect more from it. That all said, there's definitely a lot more effort put into the technical side of things for the sake of the sci-fi angle. I'll say up front that it does work generally well towards world building, but still has a few misses, mostly in its production value. There's a nice amount of visual details in shots, but it's mostly treated like window decorations, and does more to say that this world is set in the future than cement anything greater about the story. Set design is otherwise pretty weak and seems low budget, seemingly designed around retro-futurist architecture, but likely just a byproduct of shooting on cheap set pieces. Cinematography does a decent job of hiding the weaknesses though, with nicely composed shots, a variety of angle choices that build up the scale of the world, and a rather nice sense of art and color design that does give these settings a more unified feeling. Much of this does fall back on the use of special effects though, but that should come as no surprise. They're actually pretty good in certain scenes, though the designs of the robots could have used a lot more work. Did I mention that there were robots? There are robots in this movie. Anyways, there's nothing really significant in the film's score or audio design, but I will note that the use of licensed music does feel a bit out of place, since they're all songs made within the last year or so, despite the story being set 20 to 30 years out from now. Personally, I think they could have tried to use the opportunity to find something more obscure or maybe futuristic or electronic sounding. That's just me, though. It actually ties back into my earlier point about this film pretty much just being a basic rewrite of a classic formula, with enough new paint to make it seem fresh, but definitely showing signs of being a reworking. There are some new ideas brought to the table, and the film does try to set itself apart as best as it can, but because it sticks to what it knows, it ends up failing to be truly unique. Moonshot, Christopher Winterbauer, 2022. 2 stars. I wouldn't really recommend it, unless you need a quick and palatable date night movie that you'll end up ignoring. That's it for this review. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a comment. Subscribe to the channel for more reviews. I will say that there are also a few points where the movie tries almost too hard to satirize modern issues or topics or figures. I don't think I need to say that this is handled as poorly as you might expect.